So let's just wait for a few people to come in. And see what happens. Okay, so just now we talked about creating what you could consider an objective model of the Earth. From a level Earth, we created a cube Earth from a section of a level Earth, and everything is done in terms of degrees. So we're going to look at how those degrees are, or the way we see Polaris is converted into degrees. And really the crux of the issue here, when you're hello Zeus Scott, thank you my man for letting me know that the chat's working. All right, good man, thank you, good to see you. Hope you're having a nice spring there in the UK. You're from somewhere up north, aren't you? Anyway. Yeah, subjective and objective. So this is where the big switcheroo is done, right? We have these orthographic views and these mathematical illustrations. Hi, GIF. Okay, great. Nice to see you, man. Okay, hello from Arizona. All right. Seeker of Truths. Okay, nice one. Yeah, this is what kind of, any flat earther will understand this, that there's our subjective view of the Earth or the stars in the sky have been converted into this objective conceptual view of a spherical Earth in space, not because anyone ever came up with any measure of curvature. Yeah. This is, hello Al, good to see you, my man. This is why, sorry, I lost my train of thought there, Al, you put me on. Yeah, we've never seen the Earth from space. This is something that you realize. No one's ever had that outside view. Everything is CGI or the maps. You've got the maps, which again seems to be the go-to. This is the extent of our knowledge. And then you have all sorts of arguments derived from that, because people are talking about a projection, and you can only do this on a globe Earth. And this is the thing, that the challenge is to really reverse engineer how this belief came about. So as you saw just now, you can easily create any shaped conceptual three-dimensional Earth. And of course, that gives us the impression that we're smart. We believe that we're at the peak of our ability. Of course, developing the mathematical language was part of this exhilaration, I suppose. Being able to do, for example, the radius, measuring a line, and then working out that you can create a circumference from that, was obviously at some point in our human history quite a revelation. And we could talk about the subjective and objective difference mathematically as being the difference between non-Euclidean and Euclidean, right? Subjective being non-Euclidean and objective being Euclidean. For example, the straight parallel lines. You know that I've got a couple of parallel lines here, actually. You've got this horizontal blue line and this horizontal blue line. Now, in terms of Euclidean geometry or objective, our objective concept, the distance between these two lines never changes, no matter how long they are. They're just parallel lines forever and ever and ever. Yeah. So non-Euclidean is applies more to our subjective view, where you can illustrate mathematically or describe mathematically these two parallel lines eventually converging at some point by using non-Euclidean geometry, which is subjective, just as our perspective is subjective. If you've got two train tracks, you all know what train tracks look like. Let's just make this our horizon line, and of course those train tracks appear to converge in the distance. Okay, they don't actually converge. So this is our perspective view, right? We've got these lines, these parallel lines going off into the distance, appearing to go up toward our horizon. Okay, and they appear to merge. They never do. This horizon is also a point of merging. So we will see objects in the sky that might be at a certain height, but the further away we are from them, the closer down to the horizon we'll see them, right? Hello, Kelly. Walking. What's that? Waking. Kelly Bean. All right. Yeah, you keep changing your name. Yeah, so you're right, Al. Just as you said just now, they're looking at the stars. No one ever discovered any measure of curvature. No one ever said there's a hump, there's a curve. It's all been converted into an imaginary curve from our subjective view, and that comes down to navigation as well. So I will again at least know that the chat's working and kind of ignore it for a little bit, and I'll just draw that line in again because I want to come down to this is our subjective view. Yeah, okay. So all right, Alan, hello there. All right, good, nice to see you. Yeah, a few more hang around when there's some chat to be done. All right, so just to be sure, just to illustrate, yeah, the vertical line, okay, the line up from wherever you are is going to be your 90 degrees, yeah, and the horizon, that horizontal line, again, it's all based on a flat Earth, and again, because of that convergence, the horizon is your eye level. The horizon is always going to appear at your eye level. It's an indicator of your eye level. Okay, this in itself automatically debunks the globe and any ideas that the surface of the Earth is something tangible. Well, of course it's tangible, but in our eyes it doesn't appear tangible because it comes up to our eye level. It appears to rise up, as we illustrated just now. So that becomes your horizontal. That becomes your 0 degrees, right? So whenever we're doing any measurement to Polaris, we are talking about the angle, the altitude of Polaris from our horizon 0 up towards 90. Yeah, so it's that way around, and that's why there's a bit of sugar. A bit of mathematics involved. How's that? Yeah, it's still there. Okay. To working out the distances, let's just put in that thing again. Trying using a nice pen. One degree of declination, or 1 degree in the change of altitude, okay, is equal to 60 nautical miles. Okay, that's just something that we can keep in mind there for the whole thing. Yeah. So there's your North Pole. If you're at the North Pole under Polaris, then okay, it's going to be straight up. So it's 90 degrees. Polaris is 90 degrees. So that's what they call the North Pole on our, if you're converting everything into a globe, okay, your 90 degrees is there. And then these latitude lines on your globe, all right, which is just converted from a level Earth, all right, are going to be less and less. Let's just go down, all right, blah, 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 go down to the equator until you reach 0. Let's put 20 in there, okay. And that's because the altitude of Polaris above your horizon becomes less and less, all right? But that's just a result of perspective. So, it turns out there's a town, a village, or it's got about 1,000 people. It's the most northern populated place on Earth, as far as we know, and it belongs to Norway, and it's called Longyearbyen, okay? The name makes sense there, right? Okay, so the latitude of Longyearbyen is 80 degrees, okay? It's just off 90. So we're getting close to Polaris, yeah? So how does that work? Well, you've got your sextant, you've got your horizon, you're looking how far up from the horizon you're seeing Polaris, okay? And again, just remember that we're converting these angles into this orthographic side-on view. And this is where, if you do this, people will assume that it's not possible on a flat Earth. You can't do this on a flat Earth because you never get to the equator. You'll see what happens in a minute, and then I'll explain the other way you can do this in order to truly represent our subjective view, rather than what's happening here is we are converting our subjective view of Polaris, wherever we are on the Earth, okay, to get our latitude, into this pseudo-objective view, which doesn't actually quite compensate properly for the way we see, or it's not fully compensating for our, it's not fully representing our subjective view. It's converting it into an objective view, because Polaris is said to be at a certain height. It doesn't matter what height it is. It's kind of irrelevant. It's just there, but it's fixed. Okay. In this illustration, it's fixed. So, to a certain extent, it works. But once you get beyond, say, 45 degrees, which is half of 90, then things start to, they don't kind of match up, or there are places along these latitude lines that will match up. But then others that don't with certain things. What I forgot to point out is these towns or these locations or countries are on a similar longitude line from north to south, okay, between about 15 and 30 degrees longitude. So they're in that kind of one section, okay, going down from the north to the south. So Longyearbyen is the most northern one. All right. So basically, although this is far from accurate, it doesn't matter. We're just illustrating how the methodology really. We got this. It should be a lot up here a bit more. But we got our reading that we took from the sextant going up from the horizon, looking up to Polaris. We got 80 degrees. So Polaris is 80 degrees above the horizon. So it's nearly up to our 90 degrees. So obviously this leaves 10 degrees left over, okay? This simply helps us tell us how far away. This now gives us the distance of Longyearbyen from the North Pole. We've got our 90 degrees, which you need a flat Earth for, and we take away, or we subtract the 80 from the 90, from the right angle, subtract these degrees, and we're left with 10. So of course, if you then just take that 10 degrees, we'll put it here, all right, and you multiply it by your 60 nautical miles, it's pretty easy to work out that you've got a distance of 60 nautical miles. Yeah, doesn't matter if it's flat or curved. Yeah, in fact, what I'll do is very quickly, just to drive the point home. Here's a level surface. Okay, it measures. It's like 40 inches all told. Okay, it's a ruler. Okay, now it's 40 inches long. Yeah, all right. I bend it like that. Doesn't change the length. It's still 40 inches long. So when people talk about distances changing, nothing changes, okay? And just as the angles don't change, what changes is the way that it's interpreted. And that's where the switcheroo comes in, yeah? All right, so Munich, for example, is at, where is it? Latitude 50. All right, so we've basically got a lesser angle. This is going to be 50 degrees from our horizon to our view of Polaris. So it's going to appear we're further away from Polaris. It's going to appear closer to the horizon, right? And then, so what have we got left over here until we get to 90, 60, 70, 80, 90? We've got another 40 degrees, okay? This number here is what gives us our distance. Yeah. So it's 40 degrees times by 60 nautical miles. All right. And I do not care that I'm using a calculator to work this out. 40 times 60 gives you 2,400 nautical miles. All right. Voila. It's really easy. So already we've got our formula down pat. We can carry on going even if we go beyond the equator. Doesn't matter. We can still talk about that in terms of distance, right? Yeah. So, Donald, what you're saying, the camera's having a hard time, is it? Okay. Hope it's all right. Yeah. Chad. All right. Let's just quickly move on to Chad in Africa. Yeah. That's actually at, oh, I didn't put Munich's in. What did I put? It was 50. Yeah. Okay. Chad is at latitude 10. All right. So we've got a very slight view to Polaris. It's going to be much closer to the horizon. Yeah. And so we've got our 10 degrees here, and the remaining gives us 80. All right. So let's just put Chad. We can work out the distance to the North Pole. 80 degrees times 60 nautical miles. I think that gives us 4,800, but let's just check. All right. 80 times 60, yeah, 4,800. So it's twice the distance, yeah? Doesn't matter if it's on a curved surface or a flat surface. It is on a flat surface, all right? And Nambia works out to be minus 25, and negative 25, okay? Latitude. So we've gone, the equator's somewhere around here, and we've gone beyond the equator towards our South Pole. Yeah, all right. But of course, what happens here is you can't get, you see, even though Nambia is supposed to be latitude 25, negative 25, way beyond the equator where Polaris would have disappeared. It would have hit the horizon. You won't see it anymore. According to this model, this mathematical interpretation, we still see Polaris above the surface, right? Okay. Yeah. All right. Yes, Donald. What South Pole? We talked about that. Doesn't need to be a South Pole. It's just a distance. You can say, okay, we've got this distance from the North Pole to the equator. Let's just double that distance, and we'll call that distance our South Pole. Yeah, and you can make it in a circle or petals or whatever you like. Yeah, okay. So this is the problem. This is why people will say, oh, but you can't. It's impossible to have the Polaris go down to the horizon when you get to the equator on your flat Earth, because they're assuming that this is our flat Earth now. We haven't got a curved Earth. We've got a flat Earth. Yeah, but what's happened is Polaris is just stuck in this objective position, which it is. Okay, Polaris is a certain height above the surface, and it stays there. But these lines, of course, do not reflect or represent fully our subjective view. Yeah, objectively, Polaris does stay in one place. It's at a certain height. Whether you consider it to be 3,000 miles, 6,000 miles, a million miles, doesn't matter. It's fixed, right? So that's objective. Yeah, and just as the surface is fixed, but what's subjective is our personal view. So this side-on view is not what we're seeing, is it? It's not this convergence that we see in our eyes. It's not the train tracks converging. It's not the horizon or the surface and the sky converging. We're not truly illustrating that. So we're not illustrating the way we see Polaris come down towards the horizon in our subjective view. So this is a kind of pseudo-objective view that's converted our perspective into this side-on orthographic view, but doesn't actually fit with what we see. Yeah, mathematically it works to a certain extent, but this is where people have a problem. So let me just try and put it down here. I'll just, I need a bigger whiteboard, eh? Yeah. There's our surface. Okay, we got the same. We'll just have the same locations: Longyearbyen, Munich, Chad. Okay, Namibia. All right. So, what's happening with Polaris? Okay, North Pole. It's 90 degrees. What's happening with Polaris when we're looking at it? We look at it from here. Oops. Let's get that right angle again. There's our right angle. Yeah. Remember, the surface is just as well. It is our horizon anyway. It doesn't matter because that's what we see in the distance. Yeah. So it's still a horizontal. It's still that 90 degrees. Yeah. When you start off, it's not too bad. Yeah. You can get something that approximates this 80 because it's Longyearbyen is 80 degrees latitude. Yeah. But we're not going to see it right there, are we? We're actually going to see it a little bit lower. Yeah. And the same applies over here. Let's go to Munich. We're actually seeing it at 50 degrees above our horizon. So, in order to represent this, you've got to actually bring it down. Okay, you bring down Polaris where it appears to be. We're now representing our subjective view in this orthographic view. We're not changing or ignoring everything that's going on in the subjective view, or we're having this objective distance of Polaris fixed above the Earth and then saying that's our subjective view. Here we're doing the same thing. We're talking about the same, oops, sorry, where was I? Yeah, so even further away from Chad, this is actually where it appears. This is where it appears by our observations. So, that gives us our 10 degrees there. And of course, by the time it's Namibia, negative 25, well, it's the Polaris has already hit the horizon. Now, mathematically, you can have it going down here on your thing, but it doesn't make any difference. It's gone. All right. So the rest is, you've already got your distances, your 600 nautical miles, your 2,400 nautical miles from degrees. Yeah. So this is just a really simple thing. Taken a long time to get there, really, but it's this distinguishing between subjective and objective, and making sure that your illustrations of our subjective view is illustrated in that way, rather than changing it into this subjective view. So, when you're dealing with these angles, again, the 90 degrees. You've got these splits of 90 degrees, haven't you? Just as we saw from the North Pole down, along to the equator, and then so maybe I can again just illustrate that on a flat surface. Yeah. There's your North Pole, and you're going to the equator. So there's your one thing of 90 degrees, and then you got the other way. Yeah. And then beyond that, you've got another 90 degrees. Okay. And you've just got 4 quarters basically. Yeah. Is that making sense? Too simple? Too crazy? Hi. Lev Kung Fu, good to see you. All right. What's that, Zoo Scott? Or Asmali pens? All right, YouTube, hi. Good to see you, my man. All right, yeah. Yeah, so just I don't know if you're joining this stream and you didn't, thanks Al, you didn't see the one beforehand. I just was showing how we can get a template like this, a cube, and we can just place it over, yeah, our flat Earth, and these become our boundaries, and you turn them into a 3-dimensional model, have it spinning in space, okay, yeah, it's all come from a flat Earth. So, essentially, this whole thing with degrees, everything is turned into degrees. So we can see that distances are turned into degrees. Yeah, one degree is 60 nautical miles. And then, of course, time. So that's your latitude lines, whatever distance you are from Polaris. And even if you're beyond the equator, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you've just got this distance that is talked about in terms of degrees. Yeah. So what did we say it was? Like, yeah, was it this one, 10 degrees? I can't remember. Hang on, let's just do 60 nautical miles times by 80. Yeah, 4,800. Okay, that gives you a distance. Yeah, not far off the actual distance from the North Pole to the equator. We just got another 10 degrees to add there. Yeah. All right. It was all just mathematics. Yeah, mathmagic. Yeah. So distances are all fine. They work fine. And time again is the longitude is time, and that's divided up into 360 degrees as well, isn't it? Seconds, minutes. And so you've arrived at this unit of measurement. It's just like the metric system, yeah? You basically come up with a system in which you can easily put all these different measurements together, whether it's kilograms, meters, centimeters, and all these other units of measuring things can become divisible by 10, and so it's easy, right? But now we're talking about, it's a base, you could call it a base 60 system, yeah, rather than base 10. All right, and then so everything's turned into, how do you do that? You convert everything into degrees. Yeah, distances get converted into degrees. Time gets converted into degrees. So you end up with, everything based on. That's why when you look up, how do you look it up? This, I'm sure we've all done this when you're first looking to flat Earth. How did they find out the Earth is a globe? And you'll get pages and pages of the same thing telling you that it was Eratosthenes working out the circumference. And okay, even if he talks about shadows, the main thing is that you had this radius, you had that R value from the North Pole to the equator. Yeah. All right. Once you have that, then you can create that. Okay. You can create your circle, R times 2 times pi equals your circumference. So you can write it any way you like. Yeah. Still get the same answer. All right. Diameter times pi, whatever. Just being able to do this gives you everything you need. So again, that's why you've got, here's the North Pole to your equator, and you can just do the same radius again, and voila, you've created a South Pole. Mathematically, you've just created your mathematical South Pole. It doesn't have to be anywhere in particular. So of course, these distances were seen and measured and what have you to start with, and then everything was recorded, and then you can come up with a nice unit of measurement that fits into a circle. Yeah. And this is nice for, it works, nothing wrong with it, nothing changes. This is the thing you've got to understand, that nothing changes, but how we interpret it. Do we interpret our subjective view properly into an objective view? Yeah. All right. Yeah. That's it. That's what I wanted to say, really. And obviously, what I'd like to do is cut up those two pieces, the earlier video, into part one, and this one as part two. Yes, my hardware is not very good at the moment. The webcam flickers, so I can't use OBS. The storage is full on the phone. My video camera is completely kaput. So yeah. That's why I'm doing this one live, and I'll chop it up later on. Yeah. So I've been itching to do this one for a couple of days, actually. I was trying to get around to it over the weekend, but been heavily involved in doing some editing for an ebook. So it's pretty intense. So, Shen, one of the Phuket Word Patreons, if you're watching, I've seen your email. Sorry, I haven't got back to you. I will do very shortly. I've in fact half written it, but just been so intensely into work that I haven't had time to do much else. So yeah, apologies there. Is it buffering on your side? I'm not sure. Okay, it depends. Thank you very much, Alan. That's nice to hear. I mean, and it kind of, this whole thing, this whole global thing, this global web applies to anything. It's a commercial model, right? We're telling the time, yeah, and having a standardized time is handy. There's nothing wrong with it. And even illustrating it in that way, the way we do with circles, is fine. And this is, of course, what's interesting about Newton. Even if this guy was real or not, we have no idea. Or Eratosthenes, were they, what were they? Who were they? Real people? But Newton is funny. He created the gold standard for royalty. So again, that was all based on circles and geometry and things like this. Newton also looked into optics, so I think he understood this and did. Whatever we're told about them, we can't ever verify as knowing, but. It's just so this Newton introducing a metric system and all sorts of other things, and the gold standard basically is a commercial model. Yeah, the globe is just a commercial model. Globalism. Yeah, it's really just this. And if you're kind of familiar with the whole sovereign movement and understanding the difference between lawful and legal, and you as a sovereign person. And all this other stuff, you understand that the system, this kind of paper system, or the maritime law and all that stuff, that is just a web, just like I showed, just like you see, this is placed upon a much larger Earth, and a portion of it is then controlled in this cube. This cube is created, yeah, this system. And that's what it is. It's all for commerce, yeah. It works for telling the time, but it's not natural. It's of course in some ways godlike in its perfection, because you're ending up talking about circles, and that if you're a fan of geometry and mathematics and you've got a bit of OCD, then you love circles and you don't like having those things put out of place, yeah. But we're taught a very fixed way of thinking about things. We're taught what to think, and we're taught how to think. Yeah. So I'm sure most of you in the chat there are all already well aware of what it takes to deconstruct or reverse engineer. Yeah. That. And so, as I showed earlier, there could be land, all sorts of lands going on beyond the maps that we know, and how would we be any the wiser? Yeah, none of us would be any the wiser. Yeah, it's quite simple, isn't it? Really, it's quite simple to understand, but very difficult to accept, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, just to be sure, I'm not necessarily an adherent of an ice wall. Again, any model is only ever talking about the extent to which we can know what exists, and very few of us are going to ever get the chance to go very far beyond the equator, really. A small percentage of people might get to go to Antarctica, but you don't have to dispute the existence of Antarctica, do you? All right. So hello, Cami. Is Cami in? Cami, are you Aisling or 717? Yeah. What's that one? Lamel Forever. The sun had a different hue yesterday. Did anyone experience that? Oh, hi. Hi, good times. Zach, good to see you, my man. I was listening to you guys. I had you guys on the radio. No, not on the radio, on my phone, but listening through in the car and I picked up my kids, and you were going on about deaf people. How do deaf people interpret the world? And I just picked up my son from school. There was a few bad words in there that I just had to let him hear. It was okay. The content was worthwhile. Yeah. Okay, Cami. All right. Well, okay. Good to see you. Thank you for coming in. And I hear you're doing a lot of gardening these days, so that's good stuff. Okay. All right. Thanks, Cami. Yeah, it's really, This is it, isn't it? And so yeah, the whole straw man thing. This. In fact, my daughter got it. I was talking to her the other day. She's 15, and I said, look, okay, it's quite simple. You're the human. You're the flesh and blood human. That's you. And then I told her that, when we registered her birth certificate, that was my registration, is basically creating the straw man, the corporation, and you representing that straw man, and that contributes to the country's economy. And she got it immediately. If you tried to, it's a very difficult concept to actually. It's very simple, isn't it? But it's very difficult to understand if you've already, got on in advanced years. But a kid gets it straight away. So, of course, I couldn't not give my kids birth certificates, because then I wouldn't be able to get them passports and things like that. So, if I was going to go down that whole route of being a totally free sovereign citizen, sovereign citizen is a bit of an oxymoron, isn't it? Because you're a citizen if you're a citizen, you're part of that model, that system. But I wouldn't be able to give them the ability to travel. It would make things a lot more difficult. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right, Cami, isn't it? It's much harder to unlearn, but that's the challenge, isn't it? That is the thing. These guys come along, and in their minds, the challenge is to try and convince you to get back to your globe Earth belief. And there's no way, and it's like, no, the challenge is for you to try and unlearn what you've already learned. It's so corny to kind of talk about a line in Star Wars, but it's also so true. Yeah, and that's the challenge, and that's what's so nice about it. That's what's so liberating about it. And of course, it's totally unknown. And just personally, it's that's the thing. You look at the stars, and you understand that people have been making assumptions about the Earth from looking at the stars or something, or there's this and that, and you see all these distractions, and you see all these mathematical formulas being created as ways to describe the way things are, but we still don't have any answers, and we're never ever, as far as I'm concerned, we're never ever going to have any answers. We've had civilizations come and go. It could be for millennia. It's for eternity. We just can't put a number or a place on that, and there's no real answer. Even if you want to talk about things in terms of forces, and then, what creates that force? It's all kind of conceptual after that. We don't, and what gave that its energy, blah blah blah. There's no way of actually knowing. So it's important to know how the lie was constructed and how we've been deceived into believing that we're on a globe. But there's a limit to what we can know, and I think part of the point is to accept and surrender to that, and then you can stop being distracted by things that you can never really know. Another point that a lot of your kind of mainstream science advocates like to come up with is that, you're using a computer, you're using the internet, it's all based on mathematics and science, and these people know what they're talking about. You couldn't be doing what you're doing if it wasn't for maths and science. It's like, well, no, that's fine, absolutely fine. Just like anything, maths is used to describe things, whether they are real or conceptual. Yeah. So we can we can know about computers and things because we made them. Humans made them, right? And you could put the same analogy to a car. We know how cars work. You might not know by looking at the outside of a car how it works. It could be electric, it could be a combustion engine, it could be petrol, it could be diesel. But if you're mechanically minded, you can work out at least how the power is sent to the wheels and blah blah blah, and you can know how it works, and you can know intricately because, like computers, we made them. People made cars from the ground up. Yeah. We didn't make the materials though, or the iron ore or the steel or whatever we used, and the rubber, that was all provided by nature, and we don't know how that got there. There's a limit to even knowing, where did the ground come from, where did the water come from, where does the magnetism come from, all these stuff. And again, where does any force come from that keeps things as they are? We don't know. We just don't know. So we can conceptualize many things, but there's a limit to our knowledge. So there is a point where you kind of have to just, accept that as a boundary, a limitation, but that doesn't mean that the earth is limited or that the experiences that we can have are limited. So, for example, whether or not you know how a car works, you can enjoy having a journey in the car, and you'll know that it's not the destination that matters, but the journey that matters, right? Or if you're on a train, maybe, it's the people you meet on the train as you go from carriage to carriage that's important. It doesn't matter how it works fine. It might break down, and great, if you know how it works, you can fix it, because we're all talking about man-made machines. But when it comes to the earth, we don't know how it was made. We weren't involved in that process. We've constructed these descriptions of where we are based on our own concepts, and we can apply certain physics and things like that, and we can repeat certain things. You can make stars in a jar if you like, but is that what's really going on up there? We don't know. It's one way of doing it. You can swing a bucket of water around and create gravity like that. Does that mean that the earth is actually moving? Does it dictate that only that kind of physics is possible to make the water or give us a downward force? It's one way of doing it, but like all of this, like all of these compartmentalized things, you've got this, it happens with the globe, everything's compartmentalized, and so people's minds are fragmented and focused on one particular thing or one particular aspect. We see, the stars moving in one direction in the North Pole, and another direction apparently in the South Pole. Oh, we must be on a globe. Or you see, it's just like there's these things which have been assigned or ascribed, whatever the word is, to the globe model, and it's like, oh, it has to be that way, it can only be that way. So it's like the creation of the earth, the origins of the earth and the universe and everything is totally beyond us, totally beyond our comprehension, totally beyond our ability to reproduce. We don't know how to reproduce life. We can do certain things. We can coax it, and we can do that in certain ways. We can be husbands of things, but we can't actually create those things yet. We don't know how to do it. Yeah. So it's magical in that respect. It's magical. So compared to the car analogy, where you can get out and fix it if you want to, there's nothing to fix in the earth, right? It works perfectly. And we don't know how to fix it anyway. We just let nature do its job. And in that sense, you just enjoy the ride, make the most of the ride, the journey. Yeah, the destination is death. Well, maybe one death among many. Yeah. Again, that's all coming down to belief, but that's a certainty. That will happen, but we just got to enjoy the ride and make the most of it while we're on it. Not worry about the destination too much, but the more and more just spend time trying to develop spiritually, or become more conscious and aware, it seems that this just goes on and on. We meet again and again, our paths cross. There's people you come across that you're familiar with, you have a feeling that you've shared past experiences, and there's no reason to disbelieve that. it's incredibly magical what goes on in this realm, and it's really beyond anything that we can really conclude. So, let's understand how we've been deceived into this object, put that aside, and enjoy our subjective experience. Thank you, Cami. Oh, someone's posted a message. Zach, I believe what you're saying. I believe one of the greatest lessons one can learn is that there are some things that you can never know. Yeah, and it's a tough pill to swallow, isn't it? Okay. Yeah. What's that? Cami, pull data sets from different sources. It is the interpretation where most of the deception lies, not the data. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Good point, Cami. Yeah, nothing changes, does it? Yeah, nothing changes, except your perception of it. And this is our whole thing. It's really, isn't it? It's about understanding how our perception has been manipulated. Yeah. To what ends? For why? It comes down to all sorts of possibilities. What's that, Carlos? They don't have any visual model of gravitational relationships for orbital mechanics. Okay. Yeah. All right. Sweet. Donald, what's that? I couldn't run until I learned the math. All right. Okay. So I'm just scrolling back through the chat now. So I'm seeing. All right. Okay. Wow. Lots of comments through there. Well, let me just. Okay. Yeah. What's that from Zach again? Here in the States, a family Bible with birth records can still get you an ID. A family Bible with birth. Oh, okay. Yeah. This is it. It's like, I'm sure if I'd looked into it, yeah, my kids, our fifth child, we were a bit late in registering her because usually the hospital does it for you, but no, we had to do it. You had to go to the government offices and kind of register the birth, and we had to go in this room and be interviewed because we took longer than normal. It was like maybe we over 10 days or something like that, and they were wanted to fine us and things, and it's like it gets to this point where you risk not being able to register your child. And so, yeah, even though I was kind of by that stage aware that I'm handing over my child to the state, what can you do? Because I also was hoping to sort out a future with them. So yeah, there's probably other ways, aren't there, of doing it. So yeah, all right. Oh, hello, Hack. Good to see you, my man. All right, been a while. Yeah, okay. Yes. 5, yeah. So it's been a struggle, but things do get easier as you just let things unfold. I think that's part of there's been a lot of letting go. There's a lot of letting go, which is really helpful, A lot of the pain we experience is because of our own attachment, right? In fact, that the book I've just been editing is quite a heavy one because it's for someone who lost her son to sepsis, and so it was a collection of testimonials and things like that. It was quite heavy going to get through. It was quite kind of to edit that was it got me thinking, but it was like what was wonderful was that basically you had this collection of all these people saying stuff about this person that had impacted their lives, and it's so positive. It turns out to be a celebration of their life because it's like, wow, there was stuff revealed in the book from other people, acquaintances, that his mother didn't know about. And so, for her, it was wonderful to to learn about these things, all the good things that her son did in his lifetime, that, you know, the positive impact he had on people. And that's, I think, to be honest, that's what's really become quite, I'd say that's kind of the mission. If we just accept that we're here to have the experience, and maybe we got some free will and things like that, but it really, you know, it's those little interactions, those, you don't get to hear about it until, you know, you don't know what your interaction with someone has really done for someone until maybe years later. If that's become an indelible memory for them, then you've had a really, hopefully a positive, well, obviously the idea is to make it a positive impact rather than a negative one, right? Yeah. So what's that? Nachita. Okay, hello. Lord Rancer, hello. 14th Amendment freed no one, says Donald. I don't even know what the 14th Amendment says. What's that, Donald? In America, we used to be all be nationals, not US citizens. We are both in a way, but can opt out of the citizen part, but have a creator. Okay, yeah. That's kind of how I understand it. Yeah, and there's I can't remember the name of the guy, but he's doing some very good interviews recently, and he interviewed allegedly Dave as well. Damn, I can't remember the name of this guy, but he's an English chap, and he wears a nice collar and things. But he's interviewing people. He's interviewing people all about this this whole thing. So he's really going down the rabbit hole, and he's bringing that. He's got a 100,000 or more subscribers. I can't remember. So he's doing well. Richard, his name is, I think, but I can't remember the name of his channel. But yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? You know, that yeah. And of course, ultimately, these God-given rights are really our rights. It's you are God, yeah, in the eyes of the law, or yeah, lawfully, you are your own God. Whether you want to talk about your rights being given to you by another God is kind of irrelevant. You have to, you know, you become the executor, or you become, you know, you're the person that calls the shots. You're the God of your own. You're the spirit in a body, rather than a body with a spirit. Yeah, it's again, it's just a case of flipping it round to that interpretation and understanding really that you are, you know, you are free in that sense. But yeah, then to think about things like North Korea, for example, where, you know, you've got people that probably adore their leader and believe everything they're told, and that's their cultural conditioning. Yeah, it's all done in various ways of wielding power. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, alternative view observation deck is good. That's not the guy I was thinking of, though. Okay. Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. God having an experience in his own creation. Yeah. Okay. Guy's pupil, hello. Radio Ranch with Roger Sales, is it? Oh man. We'll find out. I'll find out. I'll maybe try and post a link to that if I can. But yeah, thanks for coming along. I don't want to dwell on this too much, but hopefully that's kind of you know, we've gone off on a bit of a tangent there, but it's lovely to catch up because as I said, been itching to do this for a few days, but been very busy. So I hope you're all doing well. It's lovely to see some of you guys, some familiar faces, and it's funny, isn't it? Because, you know, when we all first got into this, our paths were crossing, and there is, of course, there's some familiarity. Who knows? We might have done this over and over again in many previous lifetimes. Yeah. But it's a shame, isn't it? That it's a shame that there is a lot of unconscious. There are many unconscious people, and we know that it's that may be the agenda. You know, it's very evil. It's very dark when you look at it. But let's not focus on the dark. Let's not give it our energy. Give your energy to those moments, those life moments that we we have a chance to make a difference. Yeah, that's where I am at. And again, Zach, lovely to hear you talking about, the you pay attention, you love a garden, and it blooms, right? You same with your kids or whatever it might be. Yeah, you pay attention, and sometimes it's possible to fix evil, but sometimes it's not. If it's or you certainly can't get instant results, can you? I remember watching a documentary where they're trying to kind of turn these people around that have been brought up in very harsh, horrible conditions, and they're basically very narcissistic or psychopathic, and they're just, they don't trust anyone, and it's very difficult to unlearn that kind of conditioning, isn't it? It certainly doesn't happen with a few positive experiences. It takes a lot more than that. But the effort has to be there. The drive has to be there from the inside, right? From the Godhead. Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks. I like the shirt too. It's very colourful. Yeah, I like going out in this because, puts a few smiles on people. Yeah. So, Radio 419 is a very interesting character. Check out his stuff. He's the Indiana Jones of Asia, of Thailand. We'll have to get together at some point, talk about evolution and how paleontologists and what have you have got a lot wrong. Yeah. What's that? Cami, we might get a sample of the first blackberries here today. So very close. Strawberries are abundant. Oh, lovely. Blackberries, in the UK, they come out kind of late summer, more towards the autumn. Yeah, it's a kind of late fruit, but interesting. Yeah, V. Thomas, hello. John St. Julian Baba Wanyama channel has had success with street kids, or so he claims. Okay. Oh, great. It'd be nice to see that. Okay. Carlos, let's build a giant zeppelin and find the land they're hiding. Yeah, I would, if I wasn't kind of enjoying life in tropical Phuket, I might get on a boat. But let's see. When the kids have left home, maybe that's something I can do. Maybe another 10 years or so down the line, yeah. But again, facing reality. I mean, how many of us are actually going to get out there and explore? And even if we found something else, what does it matter? Or even if we found out how things work to a certain extent, or we learned more, or we were able to conceive more than what we can right now, how far does it take us? What does it how much does it benefit us? Is that the name of the game or the aim of the game? That's the thing. It's if you see it as a game, it's maybe a lot more fun. Yeah. All right. I was talking about, and I think guilt is one of those things. It's interesting as far as emotion goes. Guilt is used a lot, and I think to be honest, it's one of those. If you look at animals, they don't feel guilty. If they get angry or they snap or they bite or something, or even if they ended up killing something, they don't really feel guilt. And I think guilt is one of those manufactured emotions that it's kind of built. It's partly fear, and it's partly that kind of idea that we're supposed to feel responsible. We're supposed to be responsible for our actions, and that is programmed into us. Yeah. For example, you can, a dog, so your dog does something bad. It doesn't really feel guilty unless you start teaching it to feel guilty. Hey, what are you doing, you bad boy? Hey, and it's going to kind of react in a way that it thinks it should behave because you're making it feel, you're exercising your authority over it, right? And so, yeah, I think guilt is something that we can really get stuck on. Yeah, we've all got stuff that we feel guilty about. It could be small things, big things, give the dog an ego. Yeah. I don't know, Ak, I'm not sure, but I would say that we we certainly we blow it out of we can influence a dog. We can kind of, it's up to us to make it feel guilty. Yeah, it's going to feel guilty based on our actions, on how we interact with it. Yeah, if it's tearing up the sofa and you don't say anything, then it's not going to know it's a bad thing. But if you then kind of get, it will make that connection maybe that it's done something naughty, but it's only because our reaction. So I'm saying that is kind of, that's part of the control mechanism for people. People are made to feel guilty about certain things, or you should or you shouldn't do this, and that kind of keeps us locked into a certain way of thinking, right? Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, definitely. Of course, that's why we love dogs so much, because they wear their emotions on their tails, and they show you, they just exude emotions, right? Unlike cats, which can kind of can be a lot cooler about it. Yeah. What's that? One man? There could be more land out there, but if there is no sun there, it's not a place we could stay, really. Yeah, of course. Yeah, good point. I mean, that would ultimately create boundaries for us. But, again, who knows? If the sun can disappear for us over a few hundred or a few thousand miles on above the level Earth, then, well, there could be another sun beyond that we would never ever see, right? What's that? Your dog understands dog naughty. It's a goal in life some days. What's that? At Radio 49? Watch Monkey Empire. Slowly the world is realizing how similar animals and humans are emotionally. Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah. And again, I wouldn't deny that animals have emotions. I definitely agree, and that's one thing, and of course, if we learn to read, again, dogs are easy to read, cats maybe less so, but maybe an insect would show emotions and we just don't know how to read those emotions, or a bear or something, or even I see it at the elephant place. People are very good. They get very goo about elephants, right? They get emotional, yeah. And it's because of their perception of them. Yeah, they are lovely creatures as well, but they're also, they have the whole range of emotions as well, from anger, and if they get angry with you, then you're in trouble. Yeah. And so it's easy to upset an elephant. They're not necessarily gentle giants. They can get upset. So you have to learn to read them in order to interact properly with them. Yeah. Yeah, there could be more suns, Alan. Who knows? All is possible. Yeah. Yeah, I love Kung Fu. Parrots are amazing creatures. Yeah. Uh-huh. What's that, Bob question? Pack order is the dog's structure of thinking. When the dog is confused about its place in a pack, that's when their behavior becomes perceived as bad. Okay, interesting point. Nice one. Yeah. Okay, sure. I mean, again, the body language is it's a lot more in depth and detailed than many of us would understand, I'm sure. Yeah. They do a lot visually, don't they? So than we would. Yeah. Shih Tzus are called little shits for a reason. It's funny, yeah. There's a Pomeranian that struts up and down outside the road here, and they act like the biggest dogs, and should they carry themselves, and they'll yap and bark at everything. There's just something about them. Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with you there, Donald. Don't piss off a gorilla or a Bigfoot. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and Martin Liedker, if you're watching, fair shout to you, Flat Earth British, getting out there to Houston, Texas. I can't remember when the due is, but nice one there. It's great to see the momentum carrying on. Yeah, I wish I could be there. This is one thing I would love to get back to England at some point, because I could then be a bit more politically active than what I am here. I can't. There's a limit to what I can do here. It's not my country. Yeah. But there you go. We get the kids there one day, and then set up home at some point. Ideally, it'd be nice to be able to straddle between the two, but that takes a lot of time, a lot of money. Which I don't have at the moment to do. So Thailand's home for now, stuck here, and that's okay. If the war kicks off in, I think Thailand's a good place to be. I had a Thai guy came up to me the other day, said, "Oh, don't go home, don't go back to England." He said, "Where are you from?" I said, "England." He said, "Don't go back, don't go back. It's just about to start World War III. Stay here, you'll be all right." So yeah, yeah, this is it. So that would be Thomas. Flat Earth dogs have a lowly position in the pack. Yeah, yeah. Okay, blessed family. Sorry, I'd missed part of your thing there. When am I coming to the States? Man, it would be nice to do. Don't know. Can't say. It's maybe when I've written the book, I want to really try and focus on writing a book. As I said, I put one together recently. I kind of remembered that's what I love doing. I love compiling. I can do that because I'm good at layout. That's what I did with the newspaper for several years. So laying out an ebook is kind of okay. I can do that. Make it. So I'm trying to put that together slowly, but it's I need again. It's time. And then maybe do a book launch in the States, Cami? One day we'll get there. But any of you guys are welcome to come over to Thailand as well. Yeah, come and see me in Phuket. Yeah, all right. So, I would love to go. I would. It would be so much fun. It would. But you just keep on doing them. Keep on doing the flat fests, and I'll get there one day. Yeah. On a wing and a prayer. Yeah, but what's that? Do some chant. What's that? Nam Yo Horin Gikyo, and you'll have everything you desire. Okay. Well, maybe one final point to finish on. You see, I think one of the biggest problems and the whole kind of thing with spiritual development and even the eightfold path is that the monks talk about, the Buddhist monks talk about, is that desire is suffering. You desire wealth and you desire this, you desire to be, it's very easy to say, oh, I want to be somewhere else. I don't want to be here. I want to be somewhere else. And our minds are constantly in the future thinking about where you'd rather be, or they're in the past thinking about how good it was, or what you regret or what you feel guilty about. So we're very seldom fixed on the present. And this desire to have something is suffering, and sometimes the closer you get to it, the more desperate you get, and the more desire and the more suffering you have. The whole point is to let go, and that is when things will come to you. The things that you need rather than the things that you think you want will come. Yeah, so it's not easy. It's not easy to do, to do that, to really let go. And of course, things don't happen instantly, but it's an ongoing practice. But from personal experience, the more you let go and the more focused you are on the present rather than the past and the future. And of course, that focus on the present means you pay attention to detail. If you've got a job to do, you pay attention, you focus, you're dedicated, you do a good job at that time. Don't have to think about anything else beyond that, before that. As long as you're doing what you did, you're a man of your word, as it were. My word is my bond. Okay, I'll do this for you, I'll get it done, come hell or high water, you get it done, and then you move on. And then you might think, well, 10 years later, something happens because of that thing that you did back then, and you paid attention to it that you couldn't have imagined. Yeah. So I think it's a practice. That's a kind of religious habit to kind of have, is just be present. Yeah. And pay attention to the now. Yeah. And things will work out. Yeah. So I'll just read off that last one by Cami. Yeah, we scheme about the future and we dream about the past, when just a simple reaching out builds a bridge that lasts. Okay. John Hyatt through your hands. Lovely. Nice. Thank you, Cami. That's very nicely sums it up. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Cool. Thank you very much, everyone. All right. It's great to see you, and I hope you're having a good week, and you're letting it all hang out. And we'll catch up soon. Yeah. Take care. Swadee Cup.